Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We will begin our service on page 24 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Hayon, Melech Malachei Hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Hayon, Melech Malachei Hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yai Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yai Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nila Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nila Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yai Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yai Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malachei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Welcome, good Shabbos. Good to see everyone here in the Forgotten Chapel tonight. Welcome also to everyone who is joining us online from wherever you happen to be. Glad you can be with us as well. We're really glad to have those who are here every single Shabbat, and there are many, and those who haven't been here in a long time, and also maybe those who have never been here before. It's wonderful to have each and every one of you, and we build a new congregation in a way every time we come together for a service. Different voices in the room, sitting in different places, feeling different ways, and then the sounds that we make are completely new and unique. So it's a wonderful thing to join together each and every week. And of course, at the end of what turned out to be a really cold couple of days, we're reminded that we are entering the season when we have ritualized making our own light. Of course, we know and speak about a bit later how important that light making is, but especially when it gets very dark and when it gets very cold. Every time we light a candle or every time we sing a song that has an enlivening beat or melody, we remember that actually we have to be making our own light all the time because there's plenty of darkness to go around. So let's begin on page 8, reading together a prayer of gratitude, and then we will kindle our Shabbat candles, making our own light and setting this holiday apart from Friday afternoon. Together, I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other.
To work to make our lives better.
To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and bring that vision to life. So kindling our Shabbat lights that end a week that was a week maybe of joy and busyness for some, or a week of quiet and welcome calm for others, or a week of challenge, and even as I look around, I know a week of loss for yet others. We end this week hopefully with a sense of gratitude at having arrived at another Shabbat and the opportunity to bring more light into the world. So it's a joy to invite forward Liz and Larry Gottfried to kindle our Shabbat lights. We're on pages 2 and 3.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, and so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Amen. We rise, page 5 for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lemase vereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikrahe kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta. Mikomim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
L'chaim.
You may be seated. We're on pages 12 and 13 as we enter into Kabbalat Shabbat. These are a series of psalms that are stitched together to help us anticipate the arrival of the spirit of rest that we are welcoming in with our human-made light and our anticipation and our joy, and also perhaps in a more modern sense to help us tune our ear to a different kind of being, because maybe there were podcasts or there was news or there was lots of buzzing and pinging that were in our ears before we came into this chapel. And hopefully with our phones silenced and a few minutes to breathe, we can shift into a different way of being, and these psalms help us to do that. So whether or not you're in a singing mood, we're on pages 12 and 13, and we join together.
Lechu neranena l'Adonai, Nariha letzod yishenu, Nikadma panav betotav, Bizmirot Nariha lo. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai baruch shemo, basru miyom leyom yeshuato, zapru b'goyim kevodo b'chol ha'amim. Niflotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, Olam Me'od, Norahu, Al Kol Elohim, Yai-Rai,
We turn to page 20 for Lechado D. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Lechado di likrat kala yadadai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala yadadai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Yizviyanu el ha'meyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litilah. Lechado di likrat kala yadadai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala yadadai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lekuvenocha, ki mekor ha'beraka, merot mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh v'machshavat tfilah. Lechado di likrat kala yadadai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likrat kala yadadai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki v'orecho miori, ori, ori, shir daveri, kevod Adonai alayich niflah. Lechado di likrat kala yadadai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat ekabela. Boi v'shalom materet bala gam besimcha ubzola tov emunei am segula boi chala Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat ekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat ekabela.
Okay, if you're holding hands with your friends and jumping, you can stay standing, but everyone else can be seated because it's time to invite up all of our youngest ones here tonight, those who are not quite or anywhere near their B'nai Mitzvah, to come on up for your special Shabbat Kids blessing. Psst. Even if it's a couple weeks away, get in the last few Shabbat blessings before it's too late. We get to see so many of you throughout the week on Sundays, on Wednesdays, during B'nai Mitzvah prep, when you come on in to be with friends and family, hi, here. But we always love this sacred moment when we get to invite you up and give you a blessing and receive from you the blessing of your presence here on Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha Ken yehi ratzon Yaher Adonai panav elecha Vichunecha Ken yehi ratzon Yisa Adonai panav elecha Ve'yasem lecha shalom Ken yehi ratzon.
And for anyone whose little ones are going to be spending Shabbat fun for the rest of the evening with Layla and the team, just make sure that one of their big people check in with them so that you know where to find them and they know who you are, just in case anyone needs. One of my favorite little bits of Hebrew etymology is where the word Baruch comes from. Anybody know? It comes from the word Berech, which means your knees. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because prayer calls on us when we say Baruch Atah Adonai, etc., in any given moment, to first lift ourselves up with our knees, which is not something that we should take for granted, and also in sacred moments to sort of prostrate ourselves and make ourselves a little bit lower than we walk around thinking all week, which we also do with our knees, which we should not take for granted. So I invite everyone at this moment for Baruch Hu on page 28 to please rise if you are able.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed. Yairei, yairei, yairei,
Page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. 6 lines up in Hebrew, top of the page.
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavir ben yom uben laila. Adonai tzvot shemo, el chai v'kayam. Tamid yimloch aleinu, le'olam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai, Amari barabim.
On page 32, we give thanks to God for the gift of love as made manifest through Torah, through the story of where we came from and to where we hope to go, from the rules and the legislation that guides us, not overbearing, but keeps us in line with what we know we value the most. The bottom of the page, page 32.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Yairei, 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 yairei. Page 34. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You can be seated. Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Page 40. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and in respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha edar kodesh Norah tehilot oseh Fele Norah tehilot oseh Fele Kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. V'nemar ki v'Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, baruch atah Adonai, Ga Yisrael.
Page 43. We'll read together at the top of the page in English and the Chatimah, the closing line in Hebrew. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44.
Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomere, 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 Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomere, 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 Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shevi Shabbat, Kulam Yisbehu, Ve'yitangu mitu v'cha Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomere, 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 Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, Shomere, 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 Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Uvatir
רצית בו וקידשתו שבת, חמדת ימים, אותו קראת שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
Meditation on page 47 before we turn to our tefillah, especially for those in our midst, in our consciousness, who are struggling this offering. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. Page 46 and following, please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fia ki tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagipor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei HaKol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atar Hav L'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, U'Matir Hasurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, Lishenei Apai, Micha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melech, Melech Meimit U'Mechaye, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Neheman Atah Lechayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated if you wish. Page 55, we read together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. May this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Shabbat. Page 57. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amcha Yisrael utfilatam ba'ahavat tekabeil utihi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. And a prayer of thanksgiving, page 59. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars, and all that you set into place together, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Take a few moments of quiet now, pages 60 and following, to pray for the peace that we all need, the peace in our own homes, in our own souls, within our own families and communities, and the peace in the world between communities, between nations. And we ask for all the things that we need in our own private moments of prayer.
Imre fi ve'yon libi lefanecha Adonai, lefanecha Adonai, Adonai tzori ve'goli, Adonai tzori ve'goli. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, be acceptable to you. Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Adonai, my rock and redeemer. Amen.
Page 253. Even in the midst of joyful Shabbat singing and blessings, we take a moment to remember those in our lives, in our community, around the world who are in a state of incompleteness. And we offer the blessing of Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu v'imotenu Abraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yavarech et acholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all those who are ill. And if you are holding anyone's name in your mind, in your heart, we invite you, if you wish now, to whisper it out loud. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and of spirit, and to that let us all say, Amen.
This week's parsha is called and begins with the words Vayetze. Vayetze Yaakov, Jacob leaves his home. And right away, we have an interesting question about what the power is of leaving something. It's not just going. There's a different word for going. Abraham went, but Jacob left. This departure from what he has always known, this intentional departure, we learn that he goes on his way. He has an encounter with the setting sun, and there's a question in our midrash about whether it was actually time for the sun to set or just he encountered a darkness on his way. But he had to stop for the night regardless because it got dark. And he's on his own now in this moment. He lies down, puts his head onto a stone. At once, this strange image of both comfort, he has a pillow in this smooth stone, and also it's discomfort because it's likely hard and maybe sharp. And he goes to sleep. And this is the famous passage that we hear. Vayachalom v'hine sulam mutzav arza v'rosho magia shamayma. Jacob had a dream, a stairway that was set on the ground with its top reaching to the heavens, to the sky. V'hine malachei Elohim olim v'yordim bo, and messengers of God were going up and down it. And standing beside Jacob was Adonai, and who said, Ani Adonai, Elohei Avraham Avicha, I am Adonai, the God of your father Abraham and the God of your father Isaac. The ground on which you are lying, I will assign to you and your offspring. Your descendants, God continues in this dream, shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall spread out, ufaratzta, to the west, to the east, to the north, to the south. All the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you and your descendants. Remember, God says, I am with you. I will protect you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land, and will not leave you until I have done what I have promised. And Jacob awoke from his sleep and says famously, Vayomer achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati. Surely God is present in this place, and I did not know it. And then shaken with awe, he says, how awesome is this place? This is none other than Beit Elohim, the house of God, and that is the gateway to heaven. Rashi comes along and finds it really interesting that when Jacob makes this famous declaration, which is definitely in the top, I'd say my top 5 favorite verses of Torah, God is in this place and I did not know it. Rashi says, why does Jacob explain himself? Why does Jacob add, but I didn't know it? God was here, but I didn't know it. And we might hear that and we think this is just an expression of Jacob's awe, but Rashi says, no, it's not awe. Jacob is embarrassed that he fell asleep in such a holy place. Rashi says, Shim yadati, if I had known, lo yashanti b'makom kadosh hazeh. If I'd known that God was here, I would not have fallen asleep in such a holy place. There is in this interpretation, there's something sinful or at least disrespectful about sleeping before God when God is trying to tell you something. You must not sleep, the rabbis teach, in the house of study or in the synagogue. Everybody, okay. Jacob feels ashamed. I mean, nobody here has ever done that. I'm just telling you so you can tell other people. Jacob feels ashamed at having slept. He wakes up in the morning. He builds an altar around this pillow stone and names the place famously Beit El, the house of God, and he pledges to return to establish God's house. And this is, according to our tradition, the site of the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, on this stone that Jacob slept on. The message of this reading, maybe, we must remain awake to be aware of all we need to know in order to act appropriately in the world and to live up to our moral commitments, to build what the world needs us to build for the future. It is in our wakefulness that we're able to do that. I think of this wakefulness, the need for this wakefulness, as I recall and I remind all of us that this week, this parashah last year, we were breathing a tiny sigh of relief that dozens of Israeli captives in Gaza, women and young children and the elderly, were released to their families in a brief ceasefire hostage deal. Even today, we know that many of them have not recovered from their ordeals in captivity in the depths of those tunnels, not their bodies and not their spirits, but they are alive because of this week last year. And this week, upon us, Parashat Vayetze, we learned of several more of them, several more captives who were killed in February as Israeli troops grew close to where they were being held, and we learned of one more, an American named Omer Nutra, who was believed to have been held, but actually we came to learn that he lost his life on October 7th, and the shell of his soul was being held captive in the tunnels. We also know, we are awake this week, that with every passing day, not only the plight of the starving, brutalized hostages becomes more dire, but also the hunger and the anguish of the civilians in Gaza. The need for additional aid, we know, because we are awake, is urgent. Championed just this week by our own National Council of Jewish Women, among many other Jewish partners. These calls for additional aid, not just from Israel, but from the international community, is a wakeful recognition of the unimaginable conditions in which hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are living, not to mention the continuation of the war with Hamas that makes almost nowhere in Gaza actually safe. When I was in Israel this summer, I met a woman named Raz Esther Kones, one of the many members of the Israeli military who is tasked with moving both civilians and aid during fighting. The challenges she described were immense, and the consequences of failure catastrophic. This is very dark, and in this kind of darkness, according to our Torah portion, when we encounter a darkness, we must remain awake. Like Jacob, we must confess the times we have dozed off to these realities for too long. But in this parasha, it is also important to remember that it was actually Jacob's sleep, well, more specifically, his dreaming, that allowed him to become aware of God's presence. The angels and the ladder and the connection between the heavenly and the earthly realms and those angels going back and forth only became visible to Jacob because of his visions while he was asleep. In other words, dreaming is also very important because it's what alerts us to the presence, or at least the possibility of holiness, of God being in a place or in a moment or in us. So as our parasha reminds us, even as we're awake, we must be dreaming of a ladder out of this deep darkness, imagining and seeking out the messengers who climb up and down the ladder, perhaps even being those messengers, distributing heavenly hope and human motivation to everyone along the way, no matter which pole they are closest to. Perhaps it is powerful as we try to think about this deep darkness that we are in. It's powerful to remember that the very idea of this Beit El, of this homeland, was always a dream. Even from this week's parasha, when Jacob says to a stone, I'm going to come back to this place and build something holy here. Even from the first time we articulated a return as a people in Psalm 126, Shir HaMa'alot, we declare that we return to this place, to our homeland, like those who have been dreaming for 70 years. Hayinu kecholmim, we were like dreamers after exile from our 586 BCE destruction of Jewish civilization there, the first time. Returning home was always a dream. The medieval dream about building something new was articulated by the likes of Yehuda Halevi, who famously wrote this medieval poet, Libi memizrach, va'ani besof ma'arav. My heart is in the east, even though I am on the edge of the west. He died making his way home to Jerusalem around 1141. And the modern dreaming of that return was put into words in Israel's Declaration of Independence, a vision so many in Israel protested on the streets to uphold for the better part of a year before October 7th, signs saying, I pledge allegiance to the Declaration of Independence, in rebellion against some of the most illiberal policies and politicians in the government. And still, those forces, those illiberal forces, grow with shocking veracity. And the articulation of this dream is something we should remember. It says, the state of Israel will be open for Jewish immigration and for the ingathering of exiles. It will foster the development of the country for the benefit of all its inhabitants. It will be based on freedom, justice, and peace, as envisaged by the prophets of Israel. It will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. It will guarantee freedom of religion, conscience, language, education, and culture. It will safeguard all the holy places of all the religions, and it will be faithful to the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. This is a description of a dream. Because of this dream, not only was the nation founded, but there was a vision created for who it should aspire to be. Like America, it has never been what it aspires to be. But the aspiration is there, the dream is there. Not who it is, but who it wants to become. Also a dream was every peace treaty and accord that's ever been signed by Israel and her neighbors, many of whom were enemies with whom she had fought brutal wars before those unbelievable moments, including the peace accords with Egypt in 1979, with Jordan in 1994, and the Abraham Accords with the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan in 2020. These examples, few though they may be, suggest that the future we build for ourselves will have to come not only from being awake, but also from dreaming. Dr. Yehuda Kurtzer writes in his important essay, Liberal Zionism and the Idea of the Idea, he writes, quote, there is a blessing and a curse in a dream fulfilled. As much as it is a gift to see your dreams become real, there is loss in reaching the finish line. Implausible, improbable, impossible dreams, they fuel our imagination. His observation reminds me of the words, I guess I'm going to quote Wicked in every sermon now, but his observation reminds me of those words from Wicked, not featured in part one of the movie, which I have now seen. You can all be relieved. Glinda says, getting your dreams, it's strange, but it seems a little, well, complicated. It's a caution that waking up to a reality that was beyond dreams does not give us permission not to dream anymore. Sometimes when one part of our dream is realized, we can give ourselves an excuse to stop dreaming of what comes next. We cannot ever sit in the protection of what is forever, refusing to risk what is for what could be. That is undermining of the entire project of our people. Jacob's journey in this week's Parsha reminds us what happens when we leave the confines of our strong institutions and our wakeful mindset. He leaves his father's house, the world where his path was prescribed. And when he lays his head on that stone and closes his eyes in the middle of nowhere, that is when he came to see God's presence and God's promise. God tells him in the dream that Jacob will remember, Ufaratz Yama Vakedma Tzafona Vanegba. Spread out, Jacob, you're going to spread out beyond the borders of your family home, west, east, north, south. But we can also understand this prediction of spreading, not only of his people, not only of his sovereignty one day, but spreading of his mind beyond what he has always known. He is outside the confines of what is on this night that we read about, so he can dream of what might be. I don't think that many of us often wander in the wilderness of the Judean hills to find God, so we must contrive other times and places to dream big, even as we respond with purpose to what we know when we are awake. Since last Shabbat, we have entered our darkest month on both our calendars, our Hebrew calendar and our secular calendar. We are now in December, and we are now in Kislev, the Hebrew month of Kislev. Each year, we meet this darkness that we encounter in this month with the lights of Hanukkah, the symbol of the memory of the rededication of the Beit HaMikdash. Yes, of course, we light those candles to remember the miracle and the rededication of that one particular holy space. But also, we light those candles as a symbol of the kind of future we want to try and build, a reminder to our eyes and to the eyes of the whole world who might look in our windows that each candle drives out a lot of darkness. Each candle is a reminder of how important it is to wakefully bring the light so we can passionately dream in the dark. Let us make space for both of these crucial actions in the days and weeks ahead. Shabbat Shalom. Our concluding prayers begin on page 282. Please rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpechot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kecho hamonam, vanachnu korhim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yehyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. We dedicate this moment, our final prayer moment in this service, to those whom we have loved and lost, those who died in the recent days and weeks, and those who died at this season in years past. One more way to rephrase what Jacob said is when he woke up after his dream, he said, God is in this place, and now I know it. And as we think of each of these loved ones and the handprint that they left on our hearts, no matter how many years they were granted, we remember the ways that they showed us that God is in this place. and their lasting memory reminds us that God is still in this place, in them and in us. In our congregational family, it's our custom to invite those who are in mourning to rise when your loved one's name is mentioned. You're welcome to do so, and to remain standing if you're comfortable until the congregation joins you and we all remember our loved ones together. In this week, our congregational family lost 2 individuals for whom we're now in a period of Shiva. We recall David Radlauer and Larry E. Entress. We are in a period of Shloshim for the following loved ones who died within the last 30 days. We recall Sharon Weissler Leader, Doris Ross Norman, and Henry J. Bodenheimer. And the following loved ones, yahrzeit, are observed on this Shabbat. We lost them at this season in years past. We recall Liesel Adler, Irving I. Adler, Pauline Adler, Jack Afric, Harry H. Baer, Adrian C. Benjamin Sr., Abe Berenson, Janice Schwartz Berenson, Ruth Gottesman Cohen, Helene Metzger Simbel, Rabbi David Ellenson, Shirley Norman Farkas, Stephen Edward Goldstein, Evangeline Katz Hochstein, Harry Hyman, Alan Michael Immerman, Sarah Keller, William Gordon Kessler, Brunette Aaron Levy, Jeanette Lith, Henry A. Maslansky, Ray Handelman Maslansky, Rosa Michelis, Cantor Judith Borden Ovadia, Gertrude Levy Phillips, John Reardon, Abraham Rosenberg, Cecilia Hilborn Shirk, Dorothy Reiner Dot Shushan, William Harry Shushan, Helen Finger Singer, Doug Smart, Isabel Kaplan Steinman, Lillian Dean Title, Elaine Lubel Vanderlinden, Dr. J. Zachris, Jerome Zarowitz. Bring my hand around the chapel. If you came to remember someone whose name you'd like to share aloud, please rise to do so. For all those we name aloud, for those we hold in our hearts every time we say Kaddish, and those for whom there is no one but us here to say Kaddish. Page 294, we rise together as a community and declare, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'amati brachute v'amrit malchuteh, v'chayechon uvyomechon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala ubizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudasha b'richu. Le'elah min kol berchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran be'ama v'imru amen. Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Osei Shalom B'imromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world, and may God comfort all those who are bereaved. We say together, Amen. You may be seated. Love to invite forward our Executive Vice President, Kevin Wilkins, who's been seated on the bima with us tonight, to share some announcements.
Thank you, Rabbi. Great use of a wicked quote for your sermon. Shabbat Shalom, y'all. It's great to see everyone on this kind of chilly winter night. I guess winter is kind of approaching us right now. Thank you so much to Liz and Larry Gottfried for lighting Shabbat candles. I also want to thank our greeters and our volunteers, Kathy Shepard, Liz Gottfried, Naomi Vianev Close, and our youngest greeter, David Labor. Thank you to our Shabbat Pulpit Flower sponsors. The Pulpit Flowers are given in memory of Stephen Edward Goldstein by Martin Goldstein and family, in memory of Dr. Jay Zachris by the Zachris Sather family. We hope to see you all again tomorrow morning for the first Shabbat. All are invited to join a morning of learning, prayer, nourishment, and community. The morning begins at 9 a.m. with Shabbat Shur, sacred text study. You can learn more about the first Shabbats at Touro by visiting tourosynagogue.com. So our congregational Hanukkah celebration and Yamin Yafim consecration will be held next Friday, December 13th. Hanukkah is coming earlier this year for Touro Synagogue. I think it's actually on Christmas, but we're going to move it up a little bit. We will offer a special blessing for our kindergarten class and the new first graders, honor the members of our building committee for their incredible, extraordinary work throughout the capital campaign, and celebrate Hanukkah with a fried food fest of deliciousness. Good and good for you. Please be sure to RSVP online at tourosynagogue.com/Hanukkah. We encourage everyone to check out our newest issue of the Shofar, I'm Nothing Without Props. It's a bulletin full of a lot of great content for winter of 24 and 25. You will find exciting learning opportunities, special upcoming Shabbat, and more. Bulletins should be arriving in your mailboxes this week. We got ours yesterday. For a digital version, please scan the QR code in your order of service in the back. That's my props. Following services, we are all welcome to join us for Shabbat dinner in the Grant Meyer Garden Pavilion. Shabbat Shalom.
A warm welcome once again, and if you're visiting or you hadn't decided, you didn't know there was a Shabbat dinner afterwards or any of the above, hope you'll consider staying and enjoying a meal with the congregation. It's every week, and certainly next week, as Kevin said, our pre-Hanukkah celebration is sure to be delicious. Do we have congregational ambassadors here tonight? Will you all rise for just a moment to wave it? So these amazing people who are standing all around are congregational ambassadors, and they, if you have any questions, you all can be seated whenever you want. If you have any questions about Touro, or just you want to know where the restroom is, or just make new friends, please find them, and also all of the other friendly people who are here. And if you're visiting, please do introduce yourself, especially to us on the Bima and to those ambassadors. One other announcement that I was just reminded of, which is that our amazing Touro and Sinai Temple youth, Tasty, have been compiling bags, just care packages for those who don't have shelter during this time, and you can take them. They're there for you to put into your car and then to offer to people that you see who might need them. So there's a whole big basket of them. Just take a few on your way out if you would like, and they're going to continue to compile these throughout the year. So we'll continue to offer them to you.
We'll close our service tonight with Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Please rise. Chesed Yibaneh, Yered Hay, 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 Hay. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yered Hay, 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 Hay. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yered Hay, 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 Hay. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. I will build this world from love, and you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. I will build. I will build this world from love. And you must build, and you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build. Then God will build this world from love. Olam chesed, olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. Ooh, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.